Hello, and welcome to this first tutorial key point video. I hope to be producing these after each tutorial, and their purpose is briefly to review what was done in the tutorial, the key points to look at in your studying, but also to look back at any previous TMAs and look forward to the next one that you'll be doing. So the first tutorial that we had was about introductions. Introductions to the course, and just as importantly, introductions to each other. One of the great resources you have are fellow students. You can bounce ideas off them. You can mutter when the lecturer is talking rubbish and work out together what he was trying to say. And you can be revision buddies as you move towards the exams. So it was about introductions. One of the things I stressed was the value at this stage of mapping out where the course is going, because in learning, structures and connections are very important. And if just by looking through the study calendar, seeing what each unit is about, seeing where they fit together and how they form a coherent whole, that structure will make the learning easier and the revision easier. So what is the structure of W200? Well, first of all, we look, in a sense, at the English legal system, the raw materials, statutes and judgments. We look at the courts system. We look at the personnel of the courts. After that, we move on to some short sessions on constitutional law, on human rights, on criminal law and obligations, what is sometimes referred to as contract and tort. These are short tasters for courses later on in the degree. And then, about halfway through the course, we move on to a new subject, the EU. And that itself is in two parts. We look, first of all, at the structure of the EU, in effect, EU legal system and EU constitutional law, and we'll finish off by looking at some substantive law, such as the law on free movement of goods, free movement of persons, free movement of competition, and on competition. We also talked about study skills, and this is so important. Each of us works in different ways, so experiment, develop, read in the module guides about the different ways that you can learn. Find out what works for you and develop it. And then, of course, in a few weeks' time, there will be the first TMA. 2 questions this time. First of all, I need to stress to you that the deadlines are absolute deadlines. Only in exceptional circumstances will you get an extension, and you need to talk to me about it as far in advance as is possible. But I am limited to the number of extensions that I can give, and I found that in most cases giving an extension actually doesn't help, because the exams are going to be at the same point and they're not movable. Later TMAs, particularly if you use more extensions, again, you won't be able to move those dates. So only in exceptional circumstances will there be extensions. 2 questions. The first one concentrates on those 2 key study skills: explaining and distinguishing, explaining the terminology, the labels that are used, and distinguishing the types of rules. So you'll be looking at law and morality and private law and public law. So compare and contrast. What's the relationship between them? And the second question needs you to look at the differences between criminal and civil law. Firstly, in liability, what has to be shown before you can be liable in tort? So if I injure you, what do you have to show for me to be liable to you for negligence? And in criminal law, you'll see these strange terms, actus reus and mens rea, the guilty mind, mens rea, the guilty act and what they are, and the fact that they have to be shown before an offence is proved. You also need to look at procedure, so consider the courts, the case name that will be given, the procedure and the results of a case. So that's what we looked at in the first tutorial. Look forward to seeing you at the next tutorial, and also producing a little aide-memoire after that, so that you can look back, should you need to, on what was done in the tutorial. See you soon.